I remember once I had all these deadlines and I was so stressed, and it was my final year in uni, or my second year in uni, and I was living with these girls that I did not like at all. One time I was sat in the library with my friend, I think it must have been at about 11 or 10. I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't cope.
Welcome everyone. Today we are diving into the world of Seema, a film that has a strong emotional core and a very distinct voice. Joining me today are two creative forces behind it, Izzy, the writer of Seema, and Daniel, the director of the film. Thank you both for being here. Let's start from the very beginning. So, what was the original spark for Seema? Where did this story begin for each of you? Let me start with Izzy first.
Seema is interestingly a very personal monologue based on kind of personal experiences and secondhand accounts for people who have been through self-harm in particular. Thinking back to it specifically, it was through a theatre company thing called Empower Her Voice, and they had put a call out for monologues, and I kind of sat and came up with this one. It was during a time in which I was recovering from my own experiences. I was kind of, like so many others, dealing with the pandemic as well, and so it kind of sprouted into recontextualizing a traumatic experience. So that's kind of where it came about initially for me.
I think I came on way after that development. I think Izzy was already wrote the script, and they might have already had some sessions with Sabrina, who played Seema, and Helena, who was the performance director. Mm-hmm. So I think all three of you would have done some workshopping together, and I think I was approached by Sabrina to do the film direction because I needed a camera team to actually produce it. So from that point, I read the scripts. I had a bit of ideas of how we could shoot it, especially making sure that it was done in one shot in order to it was needed to be done in one shot anyway for the theatre aspect of it, but I wanted to still take that a little bit further by making it a bit more cinematic, have it start really close up to the character and slowly zoom out. So that was the approach that I had, and I worked with my DOP and AC at the time, Anand and Novel, who worked on the set. We also had Joelma, friend of Sabrina, who helped with on just helping us across the production. Unfortunately, we worked with Sabrina's mum, who had access to a youth centre, and we sort of converted that into something that looks like a waiting room. It could be for at a GP, could be at a clinic or but it was supposed to create a feeling of isolation while in a place that would usually be busy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's when I read the script, that was kind of like what the direction I thought to go in, and that was the result of that.
Just to actually add to Daniel's point as well, it's very interesting how people can interpret texts and theatre in different ways, because I never wrote it with the expectation that it was a waiting room or a hospital or something like that, but then to see it performed in that way, or filmed in that way in this case, it just made complete sense. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, okay, so you know what, there is so much more to this little world, this little monologue, because now when you put it in the context of a hospital, it changes it. It makes it so much more personal, so much more powerful. It makes what her traumatic experience is even more poignant. And that was really great to see that. So that's complete, commendaments to Daniel and the team, because I would have never have thought of that.
Yeah, indeed. That's a lovely answer. So Daniel, when you first came across the script, What was your immediate reaction? Like, what stood out the most for you?
It just felt really raw and intense and honest. I think it resonated with me not through the direct experience, that I didn't feel that it was related to me directly, but through people that I was surrounded with. To be fair, I had a good relationship with Sabrina at the time, so I could see that she was also, it really resonated with her. And I think because of my relationship, my relationship with Sabrina, I was able to really digest the film or the script in a way that, I could relate to indirectly, if not through first-hand experience. So yeah, I thought it was very emotional and honest, and I think that, I don't know if this is really answering your question, but yeah, I felt that was the thing that resonated with me the most. Is how, how honest it was, but within that honesty, and it revealed the humanity that is not just reflected in Seema as a character, but also through anyone that's going through traumatic experiences. Because maybe you as a person aren't really going through that particular path of self-harm, but you can still resonate with it through that feeling of isolation, through having to go through hardship and then come out on the other end, where you are now from one end of like wanting to cut down your life to the point of now bringing a new life into the world. That's a really full circle experience, and so I feel like it's something that can really resonate with a lot of people, and that's why I kind of liked it, because it's one of those things that I really relate to in storytelling, where you focus on something specific in order to see the universality of everything. So
Did you instantly see the visual world of the film, or did that evolve over the time?
definitely evolved over time. The one shot zooming out definitely was something that I thought I wanted to do. The setting itself, was kind of like we made use of what we could get, because the venue, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the venue, but the venue was in the venue kind of, we got that venue for free, and but by itself, the way it looked, it wasn't going to work. But we used that time to sort of, okay, how much can we like reshape or basically art direct the location, and from there I felt, okay, we could make it into, we're just essentially art directing on the day to try and make it look like that waiting room. So sometimes you have things that you plan beforehand, and sometimes it's the creativity on the spot, and it's a combination of the two that kind of made the visual direction for the film work.
Yeah, indeed. And Izzy, how personal is the story for you as a writer?
It is a very personal story. Like I said, it's also based on some other accounts as well of managing kind of self-harm and traumatic experiences, and how you can and it was about recontextualizing them. One thing I do think a lot about when I think of Seema is how it would have changed with time. You know, since I wrote that, you know, we've had a lot of talk and conversation. I think it was also kind of like around the height of the Me Too movement. I'm not 100% sure, but we also had a lot of things that were happening within this country, kind of societally, about kind of our treatment of women, of girls. And so when I look back at Seema, I would still have her in that setting of being pregnant, recontextualizing her body, gaining back that control of her body, but I would emphasize more of the control of her body and who she is as a person outside of pregnancy. She isn't just a to-be mother. There is more to her. So I would have added, now, if I had to rewrite that, I would have added that little bit more, maybe the journey that made her realize that, you know, she does care about her body, and then how that then led her to having a child, rather than it being that being pregnant was the reason that she kind of dealt with her traumas. I think I would have had her maybe a few lines of her working on that, or how she worked on that. I think that's the main thing. Like, I recontextualize it in today's society, and that's how I think I would change it if I had to. But otherwise, I'm still very proud of what I wrote, so yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's talk a little about the writing process. What was the hardest part about writing Seema?
Gosh, it was it's been a real long time since I've really sat down and I've thought about the writing process of that. What was so interesting was I didn't realise the significance of the words and the kind of... I think when I originally wrote it, I wrote it with a bit more of a bit more of a battle in her, like an internal conflict, maybe a little bit more fiery. But what was so great about Sabrina's performance was that she brought a softness to it, which I really didn't expect. She brought this beautiful softness to her performance, which then rounded off with the joy of, you know, being pregnant and being a mother, that it kind of really changed my perspective on it. It really kind of made me realise for future writing that I need to build those emotions a little bit more. I need to maybe not come at these kind of narratives with so much maybe anger or whatever kind of negative emotions, that there's got to be other subtleties in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And were there any moments where you felt stuck or had to completely rewrite some parts of the story?
Probably multiple points. I think trying to find... I think this is where it's really interesting because of how I would change how I would write it now. I think the transition between when she, in terms of just the text itself, when she's talking about her trauma, then meeting her partner, then being pregnant, I would make that flow a lot easier. I think at the time I really struggled to find a way to make that flow as a writer, because it was just a pouring of emotion. Because we were all in the middle of the pandemic, we were all very emotional and, you know, in our heads and stuff. I maybe felt that it was more of an exercise of just pouring everything out, which is great in an initial draft or two, but I think if I had more time to refine it, I would make it flow a lot better. That's just in my technical writer's brain. So I think it was on a technical level, it was hard. But yeah, I would take a different approach now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. And Daniel, from a director's perspective, how did you interpret those emotional layers on screen?
So I guess the process would have been just from the relationship or the communication with myself and Sabrina as she was performing. We tried it a few times. We did a few takes in order to not only get the camera side to work well, but at the same time as we were testing that out, I was trying to give Sabrina some notes on some delivery and pacing of some words in order to really get some of the emotional aspect of it on screen. I think Sabrina's a great actress anyway, so it wasn't really much to do on that side, but it was really just giving her cues on how she could express certain phrases and how she could put emphasis on certain words in order to really get the energy or the emotional wave in going in a direction that can go from this, well, I guess, trauma and reminiscing to then looking to the future. It's sometimes you have an idea. I had an idea of how things would have looked and sounded, but it was really on the day working with Sabrina and seeing how her performance was and just giving feedback on certain aspects and just trying to push it in a certain direction to elevate the writing and the performance. But when you have good writing and a good actress, then it makes it a lot easier for you.
And I think what's really important as well, actually, because you mentioned this earlier, was that we had done some sessions with the performance director Helena as well. So I think by doing a little bit of that, which is very rare, you don't get that very often, but having that time with myself, Sabrina and Helena, I think that probably helped Sabrina and probably helped you as well when it came to the filming. There was kind of that work that has already kind of been done. Like Sabrina had a really good grasp of the character. Helena gave her some amazing notes on her performance and kind of gave her things to do to work on it. So, for example, one of the things was that we had like a jazz album that I used when writing this, and Helena said share that with Sabrina so that she can tap into that character. And so it was like a combination of like loads of different people coming together and just bringing this amazing performance.
Love that. Actually, one thing that I noticed after listening to your answers is that you both would write it with a very different and new perspective now if you were given the chance to maybe rewrite or redirect Seema. So that's lovely. Now let's talk about collaboration between you two. So the writer and director relationship is like very important. How did you both work together to shape Seema?
So this was interesting because there was no relationship, unfortunately, or well, it kind of led us to now. So all paths lead to the future, and everything happens at the right moment. But at the time, it was a really fast turnaround. Actually, I was told about the project, maybe I don't remember how many days, but I think I was told about the project if I would be interested on the project on one day, and then we needed to shoot it in 2 or 3 days after, or something like that. Maybe it was a bit longer. I don't know. I don't recall, but I just remember it being a fast turnaround. But also, it was also a fast turnaround from the actual shoot. So I think I had one day essentially to edit it all and do the sound editing, put it all together, color grades. After that, so there was no time for communication.
It was a crazy turnaround. I didn't even know that Daniel had come on board until literally, because we had a deadline for it. So the way that the theatre company worked was that they were going to collate all the performances into one long YouTube video and then just kind of broadcast it live, maybe, or something like that. And they had a strict deadline of like a random Saturday or Sunday, something like that. And so, I mean, this is naturally the beauty of being the writer. A lot of the time, once you give your baby over to somebody, you go, right, I'm out. Like, that's what you do. I hate to say it, but that is kind of like what your job is. And then sometimes you'll have a producer or a director go, can you change these bits? And you go, yep, done. And then that's it. Like, that's genuinely how it is. So I kind of was like, okay, cool. And so then when I realised that Daniel had come on board was literally when I got a text going, hey, we're going to be shooting on, I think it was like a Thursday or something like that. Let us know if you want to come down. I was like, well, I'm working, but okay, if I'm able to. I wasn't unfortunately able to, but I think, hopefully, going forward, I think that's kind of something that will change. And I think it's important to have that relationship down the line, especially with such personal projects.
Yeah, absolutely. But was there ever like a creative disagreement you guys had?
No.
This is the thing. Like for me, I'm very much somebody that's like, once I've written it, and if you're happy with it, unless you need changes, do what you want to do. Like I think you got to be a bit like that if you're collaborating with people.
I don't think even if you were on set during those times, if you were available for it, I don't think there would have been that much clashing or disagreements. I think we really wanted to respect the source material and bring that to life. That was essentially the assignment. So doing anything contrary to that would have been a disservice to Izzy's writing and all of the development that Izzy, Helena and Sabrina put into it. So No, I don't think there would have been a disagreement. I think everyone was really touched by the writing and really wanted to bring that project to life. So, yeah, I think there was a good energy all around.
All right, good to know that it was a smooth process for you both. So Izzy, this one's for you. What does representation and authentic storytelling mean to you in this project?
Wow, it's a difficult question. Authentic storytelling and representation. That is an interesting one. For me, it was never a case of not having that character represented by someone who is a woman of color. And actually, initially, when I approached Sabrina, she said, I thought this was a South Asian character. Are you sure that you want me to do this? And I was like, absolutely. Well, why wouldn't you? Like, I think you would be great in this. So, for context, me and Sabrina knew each other from Bush Theatre playwriting group that we had been doing for about a year or something at that point. And so I was like, I think you absolutely 100% should do it. I don't see why the experiences of this character can't relate to a black woman or a white woman or a Hispanic woman. I don't see why that would change. Like, I think the context is it still works. And so in this particular story, I think it could have come from any kind of person of colour or anyone, really. I think when you write certain stories, you've got to always be so aware of, when you're writing, am I taking this story and narrative away from somebody else who could say it better? And am I actually giving justice to this character? I think, since writing Seema, I've written a lot more stories about South Asian characters because that's what I know, and that's what I can represent. And so Seema's very rare. I think Seema's one of those rare things where anyone could kind of do it because it's such a universal topic. But that's where that's maybe where the authenticity comes as well, because it's such a universal experience for so many young women and men as well. Self-harm, trauma, mental health, everyone's been touched by it in some ways. So it's a rare thing to have something like Seema, so rare. So it was interesting. It was just an interesting experience to see it when it was made, to see like the new context that it was put in. So yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Even from my perspective, even I was like, it is feminist. You can have all that representation coming up, so that's good. Let's talk about a bit about cinematic vision. From a visual standpoint, what was your core vision for Seema, Daniel, and how did you translate that onto screen?
So it needed to, because of the nature of what was being said, it needed to feel tense, cold, and with a feeling of isolation. Even though you do have the resolution at the end, for a lot of the development, it is a very difficult subject or difficult thing to go through, and also even to hear. So I wanted to amplify that with the cinematography and just what you see on screen. So even there's no music, but there was a deliberate emphasis on the sort of background music or background tone. I was looking for I tried specific sounds for room tone in order to make it feel like it was in an empty space, but a white the type of sound that you hear in a large but empty space, not the type of sound that you hear when if a room is small and it's empty. There's a different sound to it, and I know because I was looking around for different sounds, and that, as well as the color, the blue sort of grading in order for it to feel cold. And then you have the start of the film where it starts really close to the character, like really uncomfortably close to the character, and then you slowly zoom out of it. The aim of that was to kind of release that tension over time, also to show. It was supposed to be a kind of like a double entendre, because as you zoom out, you kind of reveal the isolation, but by the time you get to the isolation, she has come full circle and has sort of come to that resolution, and it's revealed that she is pregnant. So the intention there was to again highlight that isolation, but also then to show the show that by the time you get to the wide shot, that she is kind of has resolved. She gets to that resolution, and you can see when she caresses her belly, you can see that she's come to terms with the beauty of giving a life, giving birth to in the future, giving birth to a life. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm coming from. I like when the camera, the lighting, of course everything, the mise en scène has to all help to enhance the storytelling and enhance the writing. So that's where I was coming from when it comes to the cinematography.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one little thing. Great answer, by the way. The authenticity question. I'm not sure if I'm happy with my answer. I don't know if I don't know.
I think you did pretty well.
Was it okay? I worried that I didn't I don't know if I should have maybe talked a little bit about, I don't know.
Do you want to redo that?
I just don't know what I'd want to say. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
But
Like I highlighted the... What am I trying to say? So I highlighted the fact that... Because the thing is you're right about the representation. And at the time, I was like, well, I think it's fine and it's a very universal thing. But now I'm wondering, should I have been more insistent? I didn't think of it like that. Because I don't know, that one in particular, I didn't think of it at the time. Yeah. I don't know. Am I overthinking this? Because I'm like, I don't want to take away from other people.
One thing I wanted to ask is, when I read the title was Seema, so I also thought it was South Asian, but I think that Sabrina did a great job with the performance, and I think it was really important in some ways, because there are, of course, you're most likely, if you see someone with a name Seema, you're going to assume that they're South Asians, the same way how if someone has a Yoruba name, you're going to assume that they are Nigerian. So, but in at least what I interpreted, I thought in the environment of challenging norms and challenging addressing like uncomfortable or taboo conversations, I thought that was done deliberately. I thought you wanted to, even though Sabrina isn't of South Asian heritage, to even address the fact that within the South Asian community, maybe I'm looking too deeply into it, but I thought you were trying to address the unseen people, the dark-skinned South Asians. But then maybe I can understand how you could see that as maybe not where are the dark-skinned South Asian actresses, but we have to also consider the fact that it was done on a tight deadline. Yeah. But at the same time as well, that Sabrina was in a sense a perfect person for the role. And because I have conversations with people about like casting certain characters or certain actors in certain roles. Do they need to be of that same heritage in order to play the role? Maybe this is a longer conversation and we don't need to go into that. Go into right now. But I I don't think you did. I don't think it was a mistake, or I don't think it was a
No, I
bad
definitely
decision.
don't think. No, I don't know. I don't regret the decision at all. I think it was the perfect person at that moment. Like, I remember we were both sat in a session at the Bush, and I just kind of looked over at her, and I was just like, oh, that's it. That's my actress. Oh my goodness, I'll ask her. I don't know. It just clicked in my mind, and maybe I should have thought of it more. Maybe I should have seen if I can find a South Asian actress, but I wouldn't. That doesn't sit right with me. I feel like the person who I chose, who was Sabrina, brought the performance that I think was perfect. Like, I don't. It's a weird one, isn't it? Okay, cool.
I don't think that's about. Maybe just the last thing before. I don't think it's a red one, because I think that's the more you chose. Like, you chose what's more important. You said who.
True.
Is it more important to find someone that matches the ethnicity of the character, or do you need to find, or is it more important to find someone who matches the energy or the performance of the character?
No, you're completely right. No, you're right. It isn't a weird one, because I think it's just me overthinking. But I do think I chose the right person. I just know in my heart of hearts that I went up to the right person, who was a friend of mine, who I knew was an amazing writer and was an actress. You know, she'd done a couple of little bits in our sessions at the Bush, and I was like, she's perfect for it. So I didn't think twice.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I didn't overthink it at the time, because I could have missed out on an absolutely beautiful performance. So,
and just a caveat, I know that in some scenarios there can be more of a discussion in around this, because are you taking away certain roles from people who are already underrepresented in media? So I hear that, and I can hear like counter arguments, like, oh, what if it was like, for example, Nina Simone, I think I forgot the name of the actress, what's her name, she's
Zoe Saldana.
yes, I think because she wanted to play Nina Simone, and well, I don't know I haven't seen her like play as Nina Simone, so I can't talk on that aspect, but visually it was a very controversial thing, because there were already a lack of representation of dark-skinned women on screen as well. So in that area I can understand it, but that's a huge production, and they have time.
Yeah.
They have time
They have time and energy and money. Yeah. No, I
So,
completely get it. No, I get it. Cool. That's
So-
fine. Sorry, it's just I was like, it was in my brain. Also, your hair might be hitting against your mic.
Oh yeah, can you hear that? Like,
Not really.
Sorry.
Okay, cool,
Again,
cool.
trauma, PTSD. I was like, his hair's hitting the mic. Oh my god, the sound. Sorry.
This one's for Daniel. What
Okay.
was the most challenging scene to bring to life, and why?
to be fair, I would say I think the challenges came from the repetition. It was more keeping the energy up over time, because we did it. It is a one shot, so each time we think we shot it, maybe like fully we shot it about 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's just under 10 minutes. So it did take a while, and bear in mind you also had the setup and then the test ones as well, and we didn't have a dolly, so we had to figure out. So we had Anand, who was the DOP, and Novel, who was the AC assistant camera, and myself as well, because I was kind of watching but then also assisting them on camera. So we had to manually like hold Anand and kind of time the steps, so it wasn't fast enough to get to the end of the room before she finished the monologue, but not slow enough that you don't actually get a wide shot by the time you finish the monologue. So we had a few trial and error on that side. I think in terms of performance, I I don't think there was really much of a challenge in terms of like communication and direction. They really resonated with like the instructions that I was saying, I was giving, or just directional cues rather than dictatorial instructions like you must do this. But I think just keeping the energy up after doing the takes over and over was important. So I was, just in between shots, just trying to like make some, obviously keep not pulling us too much away from from losing the character, but still cheering people up, encouraging people, because you can lose the room, you can lose the focus of performance if like people don't know, am I doing a good job, or am I doing something right? So even so, after a take, still encouraging them on what they've done right, maybe just suggesting alternatives for things that could be done better, but ensuring that they are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that when they do the next one, they can still continue that energy, because I think that the challenge would have been losing the energy each take.
Yeah.
That would have made it very difficult. But yeah, I'm grateful to say that the challenge was more technical stuff rather than performative or performance focused stuff. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, yeah, lovely answer. Moving forward to message and impact of the movie. So this one's for Izzy. Actually, Daniel can answer this as well. What message or feeling do you hope audiences leave after watching Seema? Let's go with Izzy first.
Oh gosh, that's a very good question. And I'm trying to not make it all soppy as well, because like I want to be cool. I would say this is the thing where I think it goes back to the earlier question about if I wrote it nowadays, I would change the way that I wrote it. I would have a lot more about her re-embracing her body, dealing with, mental health, dealing with kind of what she was going through, and really getting to the root cause of why she was self-harming in the first place. So I think with that in mind, that's what makes it a bit hard to understand, well, what do I hope audiences take from it? Because I would do it differently now. I would write it with a little bit more of a consideration. However, if there are people who do watch it, if there are audiences who do watch it, I think it's to kind of take away that there is, as cliche as it is, there is light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of, if you don't want to have kids or want to have kids, that's 100% your choice, but that there is hope to letting self-harm in particular not control or shame you in your body, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that you can find ways to re-embrace your body. Like I see so many like people online, who have, experience, who have gone through self-harm, and they have the visible scars on themselves, but now they are taking their health so much more seriously. Like I saw this amazing woman who, this amazing South Asian woman who has dealt with self-harm her whole life, has visible scars, but now she's a bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? Like it's you can find a way out of it.
Yeah.
And re-embrace your body, and find things that can help you through tough times, through real mental health lows. And so that's kind of my biggest takeaway, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, basically.
I guess the message that I hope people receive or feel after watching Seema is similar to what Izzy has said, where even through very difficult moments, even through moments where you feel that there is no way forward or there is no alternative, there can still be hope. There is still a bounce back or light at the end of the tunnel. I think the Seema and Sabrina's performance of it and Izzy's writing shows that there is a we can go through very difficult, traumatic, and even and parts of our life where we feel like there are no alternatives to this, and this is literally what our lives will end up as. But life is beautiful in the sense that it will always evolve and develop and grow into something that we don't expect. And in the same way how Seema, from her experiences at uni and coming out of it, it kind of felt like her life. Who would have thought from her perspective that she would be now having a child or giving birth, and you could see the sort of joy and the chuffness. I can hear Sabrina's performance of it, where she is kind of like a who would have thought in a positive way. So I think that sort of feeling is universal in all aspects of our lives, where we can be going through whether it's mental health or just the trauma of life itself. We can be going through very difficult moments, but the fact that we're still here means that there's endless possibility. And I think the birth of a child itself is a really good symbolism of that, because that is a symbol of infinite possibility, because a child can grow into, it can deliver anything, and in a beautiful way. So, and I think that is also an example of life. We can grow and develop into something that we didn't really expect when we were in our difficult moments. The fact that we're here means there's still a chance. So yeah, I guess that's the message.
I think that's a very strong message for Seema. So finally, what advice would you give to emerging writers and filmmakers trying to tell culturally rooted or emotionally honest stories? Any one of you can go first.
I would say be willing to collaborate. You'll meet amazing people. Don't stick with the people that you know. I mean, you work with them for sure, but be open to working with new people, test new things, use projects to try things that you've not seen before or not done before. Be open, because the reason why filmmaking and storytelling it's a powerful. It's like having a nuclear. The power of nuclear. It's like having nuclear power. Like, you can destroy a lot with it because of propaganda and misinformation, or you can tell beautiful stories, and those beautiful stories can be quite poignant. It can be quite inspiring, but in order for that to be inspiring, we need to be open-minded. We need to be open-minded to new perspectives that we've not encountered or we didn't grow up with. We need to be open-minded to learning from people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, different genders, different walks of life, because they will teach us things that we've not learned, but even they will also uncover things that we already knew, but from a different perspective, and that will show that we are all connected through our experiences. It's just that we experience it in different ways. So I say that to say that we shouldn't just think of filmmaking as a technical, from the technical side. The DOP, the gaffer, everyone involved in the back end should also be seen as a storyteller, because their involvement it tells that story from a visual sense. So yeah, I think there's a lot that I said in that, but I think that one, for people, for crew, seeing themselves as storytellers, not just seeing it as working with a writer, actor, director who are telling a story, but also seeing them as storytellers, but also being open-minded, being willing to learn and share experiences, because that's how beautiful things are made. That's if I just stuck to the stories that I wanted to tell, that I thought of telling, rather, I should say, then I wouldn't have had the opportunity to collaborate with Izzy. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to work on Seema. It's through that collaboration and coming out of your comfort zone that you learn. That's the only way you can learn. You have to get out of your comfort zone, go into the unknown, and slay the dragon. Okay, that's
Indeed. And for you, Izzy, what's the advice you would give to emerging writers?
I would say two things. Make mistakes, like write terrible stuff, like it's fine. Just write it, go for it, like just put your thoughts and feelings on paper and see what emerges from them, see what you do, see what you can write. Actually, there's three things. Secondly, I would say don't pigeonhole yourself to just want to write for film or just want to write for theatre or whatever. Write lots of different things. You know, write some poetry, write some short fiction, write some TV, write some journalistic work. Like, just try everything, because it's to be a good writer is to be able to, in my opinion, convey emotions or convey a story in lots of different mediums. So be experimental with it. Like, try, if you've never written a poem before, Google online, how do you write a poem, and go write a poem. Do you know what I mean? And then thirdly, which I think is probably the most important thing, like, consume media. Read books, read poems, watch TV shows, read scripts, read TV scripts, read film scripts. There are thousands of them online. So many. The BBC have an amazing script library that is literally the best thing I've ever seen. Like, they have scripts for everything. So read scripts, understand the formatting, understand the way that it is written. All this kind of stuff, it's for free. Do you know what I mean? It's only through consuming and through kind of not, like I said, pigeonholing yourself that you can really, truly, in my opinion, be free as a writer and really understand how to convey an emotion. I never would have thought that what is meant to be a theatre piece could translate so beautifully into film, but we're proof that it can happen. And so, you know, it's anything is possible, really. It's about just being prepared to broaden your horizons and do a bit of work. You know, there's lots of free resources online. Just do some reading, pick up a book. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. All right then. So we are at the end of our interview. Thank you both for sharing your journey behind Seema. It's clear that this is a story built with intention, emotion, and collaboration. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Fucking knocked that shit out. Amazing.
Nice.